A lot of people come to Charleston, visit for a few days, fall in love with it, and pretty quickly start to think about making the move. And I get it, it's one of the most unique cities in the country. But what most people don't realize is there are a handful of mistakes I see over and over again that can easily cost you thousands of dollars if you're not careful. And in some cases, it's not just about money. People end up in the wrong area, hate their commute, and within a year, they're already thinking about moving again. Now, in 2026, prices have leveled out compared to the spikes we saw a few years ago, but the bigger issue now isn't just price, it's all about hidden costs, taxes, insurance, HOA fees, commute time, etc. That's where people get caught off guard. So in this video, I'm going to break down the biggest mistakes I see people make when moving to Charleston so that you can avoid them and actually enjoy the lifestyle you're coming here for. Real quick, my name is Hunter Javier. I'm a full-time realtor here in Charleston, and as a member of the Sean Cleary team, it's my job to make sure you can make an educated and informed decision when purchasing your next home. My contact info is in the description of this video, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions. With that being said, let's get started. The biggest mistake, and the one that causes the most regret, is not understanding that Charleston is really two completely different real estate markets. I break it down into northern market and southern market, and if you pick the wrong one for your lifestyle, it's going to feel like a constant battle with traffic, distance, and cost. The northern market is going to be places like Somerville, Goose Creek, and Monk's Corner. This is where you get the most value for your money, no question. You can get a 3,000 square foot, 4-bedroom house up there for what a small townhome closer to downtown would cost. It's more suburban, more space, more family oriented. And the economy up there is growing fast with manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, and the military presence. But here's what people mess up. They look at the map and think, oh, it's only 25 miles downtown or 25 miles to the beach. That does not mean 25 minutes. Traffic in Charleston has gotten significantly worse over the past 5 years. If you're living in Somerville and commuting toward Charleston or Mount Pleasant, you're going to spend a lot of time on I-26. And that drive during rush hour can easily turn 45 minutes into over an hour or more, depending on the day. Now on the flip side, you've got the southern market. This is what most people picture when they think about Charleston. I'm talking about places like downtown, Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, or James Island. This is where you're closer to the water, the restaurants, and historic areas. Everything that gives Charleston that iconic feel. But there's a premium that comes with it. I call it the Charleston tax. Not actual taxes, just the cost of being closer to everything. A home that's $450,000 in Monk's Corner can easily be over $1 million in Mount Pleasant. You're paying for location, not square footage. And one mistake people make here is underestimating the true cost of home ownership. Flood insurance is a big one. A large portion of Mount Pleasant is in a flood zone, and depending on that property, that insurance can add a few $1,000s per year. And since flood insurance is now risk-based and not flat rate anymore, it varies property by property. Another trap is condos and townhomes. On the surface, they look more affordable, but what people don't see are rising HOA and regime fees, especially if there's ongoing litigation, repairs, or major upgrades planned in the community. Those fees can jump, and when they do, you're stuck with them. So between these two markets, if your budget is fixed, you really have to decide, do you want more space or do you want to be closer to everything? If you can afford it, it's tough to beat being closer in, but it has to make sense financially. The next mistake that can quietly cost people thousands is not understanding how property taxes work here. When you're buying in Charleston, you're usually in one of 3 counties, Berkeley, Charleston, or Dorchester, and they are not the same when it comes to taxes. In general, Berkeley County tends to be the lowest. That's part of why areas like Somerville and Goose Creek have grown so fast. Charleston County is usually in the middle, especially in places like Mount Pleasant and West Ashley, and then Dorchester County often comes in the highest, especially in certain parts of Somerville. Now, it varies property to property, but where you buy absolutely affects your monthly payment. And then there's South Carolina's tax system, which a lot of people just don't understand. If you live in a home as your primary residence, you get taxed at the 4% assessment ratio. If not, it's 6%. The problem is when you buy a home, it defaults to 6%. So if you don't file for that primary residence exemption, you could be overpaying by $4,000 to $5,000 per year on a typical home. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see, and it's completely avoidable. Another one is being near the water without understanding what comes with it. Charleston is surrounded by marshes, rivers, and the ocean. And the water shows up in 2 ways, storms and king tides. A house can look perfect on a sunny day, but then during heavy rain or a high tide, that same street can completely go underwater. You have to look at flood zones, elevation, and drainage, not just the house itself. Flood zone X usually doesn't require insurance, but AE and VE do. Even in those zones, insurance costs can vary a lot. Now, because it's all risk-based pricing, I've seen buyers find out their insurance quote is thousands higher than expected because the previous owner had a grandfathered rate. You don't want to figure that out after you're under contract. Another mistake, especially for people coming from bigger cities, is underestimating the traffic. Charleston isn't built like a grid. It's a series of islands and peninsulas connected by bridges. So when there's an accident on one bridge, it affects everything. The best example is Johns Island. If you're commuting to Mount Pleasant, you're crossing multiple bridges every day. It may look like only a 15 to 20 mile drive, but during rush hour, it can easily be close to an hour and a half or more. Those choke points matter more than people expect. Now let's talk about the homes themselves. Charleston has a very specific style. Historic homes, porches, old architecture, and people fall in love with it. But what they don't think about is maintenance. The humidity, the salt air, the heat, it wears on homes faster than most places. Paint fades quicker, wood breaks down faster, and HVAC systems work overtime. And if you're buying something historic, especially downtown or in places like Old Village, you're dealing with a lot of restrictions. You can't just change things whenever you want. A lot of updates have to go through approval, and that process takes both time and money. Even outside of historic areas, you've got crawl spaces, moisture issues, pests. It's just part of living here. So the true cost of owning a home here is more than just your mortgage. On the other side, in the northern market, the mistake I see is assuming that all new construction is equal. It's definitely not. Some of these neighborhoods were built very quickly, and there's a big difference between a well-planned community with strong amenities and a basic subdivision with no long-term value drivers. The community with better locations, schools, and amenities are going to hold their value much better. That matters if you ever plan to sell. Last big mistake, schools. Even if you don't have kids, school districts affect resale value. Dorchester District 2 is generally seen as the strongest overall and drives a lot of demand. Charleston County has some top-tier schools, especially in Mount Pleasant, but it varies a lot by zone. Berkeley County is improving and has a lot of newer schools, but it's still more mixed. There is school choice here, but logistics definitely matter. If you're driving 20 to 30 minutes to school every day, plus dealing with Charleston traffic, that adds up very quickly. I've had clients move purely to cut down that drive because it was costing them over an hour extra per day. So when you're picking a home, it's not just about the house, it's about how it fits your day-to-day life. Charleston is an incredible place to live. There's a reason why so many people are moving here, but these mistakes are the difference between loving it and feeling stuck a year later. If you're thinking about making a move, these mistakes are only half the battle. You also need to access the right opportunities, especially the ones that don't hit the market publicly. As part of the Sean Cleary team, we consistently see more inventory before it goes live than most agents in the area. So if you're considering moving, reach out. I'm happy to help you figure out what actually makes sense for your situation.